"I'm buying this car for my daughter's Christmas gift." They laughed until he paid cash. The luxury car dealership sparkled under the December lights, every surface gleaming with promise and prestige. Through the tall windows, snow fell gently on the expensive vehicles displayed outside. Inside, the warmth was almost excessive, the kind of heat that made everything feel artificial and staged. Martin Shaw stood just inside the entrance, his worn work boots leaving faint traces of mud on the polished marble floor. At 58 years old, his face told stories of long days under the sun, of construction sites and honest labor. His orange and tan safety vest was still dusty from the morning shift, his jeans marked with the kind of stains that never quite wash out. His graying hair was slightly disheveled, and there was concrete dust visible on his jacket sleeves. He clutched a folded photograph in his calloused hand, the edges soft from being handled too many times. In it, a young woman with bright eyes smiled at the camera, her graduation cap slightly askew. His daughter, Emma, 24 years old and about to start her first real job as a pediatric nurse after years of school and sacrifice. Martin had raised Emma alone after his wife Rachel passed away when Emma was only 12. Those had been hard years, the kind that age a man faster than time alone could manage. But Emma had grown into someone remarkable, someone who chose to spend her life caring for sick children, even though easier paths had been available to her. This Christmas, Martin wanted to do something he had never been able to do before. Something big, something that said all the words he struggled to express. He approached the main display floor, where a silver sedan sat under a spotlight, the exact model Emma had mentioned months ago while they were watching television together. She had said it casually, almost dreamily, that if she could pick any car, that would be the one. Safe, reliable, perfect for someone starting a career that would require early morning drives to the hospital. Martin had remembered. A group of 5 salespeople stood clustered near the reception desk, their dark suits crisp and their laughter easy. They were young, probably in their late 20s or early 30s, the kind of polished professionals who had learned to assess a customer's worth in seconds. As Martin walked toward them, he saw the exact moment they noticed him. The laughter didn't stop, but it changed, became sharper. One of them, a woman with her dark hair pulled back severely, nudged her colleague. A tall man in an expensive suit barely glanced in Martin's direction before returning to his phone. Martin cleared his throat. His voice, when it came, was quiet but steady. "Excuse me, I'd like to ask about that silver sedan over there. The one under the lights." The group exchanged glances. A younger woman, blonde and professional looking, stepped forward with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "That's a premium model, sir. Perhaps we have something more in your range in our used inventory out back?" Martin felt the familiar weight of being judged, of being found lacking. He had felt it countless times over the years. At parent-teacher conferences where other fathers arrived in business suits. At Emma's school events where he would come straight from work, still wearing his construction gear. "I'm interested in that one specifically," he said, pointing to the silver car. "It's for my daughter, for Christmas." This time, the laughter was less guarded. One of the men, dark-haired with a smirk that seemed permanently fixed, actually chuckled out loud. "That car starts at $75,000, buddy. Maybe look at something a bit more practical?" The woman with dark hair stepped closer, her professional mask slipping just enough to show disdain. "We require proof of financing capability before we even begin the paperwork on our premium models. Do you have a PRE approval letter from a bank?" Martin felt heat rise to his face, but he kept his voice level. "I don't need financing. I'm paying cash." The silence that followed was worse than the laughter. It was the silence of disbelief, of adults huming someone who had clearly lost touch with reality. The blonde woman actually turned away, as if the conversation was already over. "Sir," the dark-haired man said, his tone now edged with impatience, "that's a lot of money. Maybe you should talk to your daughter first, or come back when you've had time to really think about this." "I've been thinking about this for 20 years, Martin said quietly. He thought about those years, the double shifts he had worked when Emma needed braces, the way he had learned to cut his own hair to save $30 a month, the community college classes he had skipped to pick Emma up from her weekend job at the diner, every small sacrifice building on the others. A foundation of love constructed one difficult choice at a time. Look, the tall man said, checking his watch. We're pretty busy today with serious buyers. Why don't you leave your information and someone will call you next week? None of them were moving toward the desk. None of them were preparing paperwork. They had already decided how this would end. Martin stood there, feeling the weight of their judgment, feeling once again like he didn't belong in these polished spaces. But then he thought about Emma coming home from 12-hour shifts at the hospital, taking 2 buses because she had sold her old, barely functioning car to help pay for her final semester of nursing school. He thought about her kindness, her constant giving, her absolute refusal to complain about anything. He reached into his jacket pocket. The envelope was thick, creased from being carried close to his chest. Inside was a cashier's check, issued that morning from the credit union where he had maintained an account for 37 years. The amount on that check represented every extra hour he had worked, every vacation he hadn't taken, every luxury he had denied himself. When Rachel had died, she had left a small life insurance policy. Martin had put every penny of it away untouched. In an account for Emma, over the years, he had added to it, slowly, steadily, sacrificing in ways only he knew about. The raise he got at work that he never mentioned, directing it straight to savings. The settlement from the car accident 3 years ago that had left him with a permanent limp. Money he could have used for surgery but chose instead to save. The inheritance from his own father, a modest amount that others might have spent on home repairs or a decent vacation. All of it had gone into that account. All of it for Emma. This year, when Emma had finally secured her dream job, when she had overcome every obstacle and achieved what her mother had always believed she could, Martin had gone to the bank. He had withdrawn enough for the car, for taxes, for insurance, for everything Emma would need. He pulled out the cashier's check and laid it on the gleaming reception desk. The laughter died completely. The dark-haired woman stepped forward, her eyes widening as she looked at the amount, $78,500. Enough for the car Emma had dreamed about, enough for taxes and fees, with a little extra for the extended warranty that would keep her safe. This is real? The blonde woman asked, her voice stripped of its earlier condescension. It's real, Martin said. Now, can we talk about the car for my daughter? Or do I need to take this to the dealership across town? The transformation was immediate and uncomfortable to watch. Suddenly, everyone was helpful, professional, eager. The tall man who had dismissed him was now pulling out specification sheets. The dark-haired woman was offering coffee, a comfortable chair, asking detailed questions about what features Emma might prefer. But Martin saw something else too. He saw shame beginning to creep into their expressions. The reality of what they had done, how they had treated him, was settling in. The blonde woman, whose name tag read Jennifer, actually apologized. Sir, I'm very sorry for how we responded earlier. That was unprofessional and unkind. Martin looked at her, at all of them. He thought about being angry, about making them feel worse. But that wasn't who he was. And it wasn't the lesson Rachel would have wanted him to teach. I've worked construction for 40 years, he said quietly. I know how I look. I know I don't fit in places like this. But my daughter, Emma, she's a nurse now. She's going to spend her life taking care of sick kids, holding the hands of scared parents, being there for people on their worst days. She never judges anyone by what they wear or how much money they have. She sees people. He paused, looking at each of them. I hope you all learn to do the same. The next hour was spent on paperwork, on selecting the exact color Emma had mentioned, on adding features Martin hadn't even known existed. The dealership manager, a man in his 60s who had heard about the commotion, came down personally to oversee the sale. He shook Martin's hand, looked him in the eye, and thanked him for his business with genuine respect. As Martin prepared to leave, with delivery scheduled for Christmas Eve morning, Jennifer approached him one more time. Your daughter is very lucky, she said softly. Martin shook his head. No, he replied. I'm the lucky one. She's the best thing I ever did with my life. On Christmas morning, Emma stood in the driveway, crying as she looked at the silver sedan with a huge red bow on top. Martin had arranged for the dealership to deliver it at dawn, so it would be the first thing she saw. Inside the car was an envelope with a letter he had written the night before, explaining that this was as much from her mother as from him, that Rachel's love had helped make this moment possible. Emma hugged her father so tightly he could barely breathe. And for those few minutes, all the sacrifice felt weightless. All the hard years, all the lonely nights, all the moments of doubt disappeared into the joy of seeing his daughter's happiness. Later, Emma would drive that car to the hospital, would use it to transport donated toys to pediatric wards, would give rides to co-workers who needed help. She would maintain it carefully, knowing what it represented, understanding that it wasn't just a car, but a message of love that had taken decades to write. And Martin, watching her drive away on that first journey, felt something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. He felt complete. He felt that Rachel, wherever she was, would be proud not just of Emma, but of how he had honored their daughter, how he had turned years of sacrifice into a single moment of pure joy. The salespeople at the dealership never forgot Martin Shaw. His story became the one they told new employees, a reminder that respect and kindness should never depend on appearances, that everyone who walks through their doors carries stories they cannot see, dreams they cannot measure, and love they cannot quantify. Sometimes the best gifts aren't the expensive ones. Sometimes they're the ones that say, "I see you, I value you, I'm proud of you." And sometimes, just sometimes, those gifts come wrapped in silver, delivered on Christmas morning, carrying the weight of a lifetime of love. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales of kindness and human connection. Leave a comment below telling us about a time someone's kindness surprised you, or about a sacrifice you made for someone you love. Your stories matter, and sharing them helps create a community of compassion and understanding.